Hey there cats, good time of the day to you and thank you for tuning into my channel. This year I'm playing through Ne Plus Ultra Tour, which is the very last set of races in the first Ridge Racer on PSP, and boy, I'm playing it with the Class 4 machine and I actually have a lot to tell you about. Let's start with the mechanics, I think. First things first, you can clearly see that I got myself infinite nitros for this tour. The reason is pretty simple. With the Class 4 machine it is impossible to catch up with special cars in Ne Plus Ultra without infinite nitros. The best I could do without infinite nitros, well, on the last lap, Angelus was like half a lap ahead of me, so I was very far behind. Now, the next thing that is very interesting is Ne Plus Ultra is the mechanics, the rubber band mechanics, which are Kamata Angelus, which apply to Kamata Angelus, which Kamata Angelus uses. This car in front of me, as you might know, is Kamata Angelus. And thing is, this car is programmed not to let player take the first place. Yep, it is simple like that. I'm not sure if I'll be able to demonstrate it to you on this track, but the moment you actually take the lead from the Kamata Angelus, it is simply set. It doesn't let you take the first place. The moment you're taking it over, it just rubber bands to be a millimeter ahead of you. Now you may notice that I now overtook Kamata Angelus. These things happen. As far as I understood, there are two ways to overtake Kamata Angelus, if for a moment. So, the first way is to make it crash, and it is incredibly hard because the way it is made, it is always ahead of you and you can't really block it because it is ahead of you. Ridge Racer physics do not let you block the car which is ahead of you, and they do not let you ram it. It will simply slide in front of you and will go only faster than it went before if you'll attempt to ram into Kamata Angelus while you're going side by side. This is, by the way, another wonderful showcase of mechanics in Ne Plus Ultra. I've just rammed that wall head on and I'm still in the first place. That's just something, you know, I find it fascinating. Yeah, so, and the second way to overtake Kamata Angelus for several seconds is to wait until Kamata Angelus will crash itself. Thing is, I'm not sure if it is a feature or if it is a glitch, but in some turns, if Kamata Angelus takes a very specific trajectory, it will actually crash into the wall and will slow down considerably. Thing is, even with that slowdown, it is not nearly enough to keep the lead, as usually the turns in which Kamata Angelus can crash are quite far from the starting line, or finish line in that case, and in order to stay in front of it, you will still have to block it. Now, I think that Kamata... see, like this. This is what happens when you attempt to overtake Kamata Angelus. If I'll be able... and there it went, it crashed, so it will stay behind me for a moment or two, but it doesn't help me much. Anyway, I think there is some kind of speed limit, and if you'll go faster than that, you will be actually over... yeah, see, that's what happens. It just stays side by side with me. If I hadn't rammed that wall, maybe this straight will be a great showcase. Look at this. I'm trying to overtake it, but it simply speeds up just to stay a little bit ahead of me. It doesn't let me overtake it. It is programmed not to let the player overtake it. And if I ram it, even though slightly, it just slides and goes away onto the place in front of me. So it is very hard to block Kamata Angelus in Ne Plus Ultra. So yeah, where was I? Yes, I wanted to say that I think there is a speed limit, and if you go faster than that, it will actually let you overtake it. Because I've tried to pass this tour with the Crinale, and I think there is indeed a speed limit, but it only works when Kamata Angelus is like on the very last straight before the finish line. If you will try to overtake it any time earlier during the race, it won't let you. But like on the last straight, it will actually let you overtake it. If you'll go at like 400 kilometers per hour, yeah, Kamata Angelus will let the Crinale go forward. Thing is, I'm on Danver Bayonet now, and there's no way I'm able to hit 400 kilometers per hour unless this will happen, you've just saw it, unless I'll get a good ramming from a car that goes behind me, like Crinale. And that's, by the way, how I want to tell you a thing about Nitrous mechanics in Ridge Racer. Thing is, Nitrous completely changed the physics by which the car goes. Thing is, not only you can ram walls and stuff without losing any speed, walls and other cars. Thing is, when the other cars ram you from behind while you have your Nitrous on, you do not get any speed either. And, well, the only way to actually get to 400 kilometers per hour is to get hit by a car that goes behind you when you are without Nitrous. Because if you're getting rammed while having your Nitrous on, you won't get any boost. You will stay at 360 kilometers per hour, which is normal maximal speed for Danver Bayonet. And this is pretty hard, because when you are driving Class 4 car, you have this incredible urge to keep your Nitrous on all the time, because without Nitrous your speed falls to 280 to 190 kilometers per hour, which is extremely slow for these races. With all that being said, I want to say to you that I found this tour incredibly frustrating. I mean, given how Kamata Angelus is programmed, just look at this, it just doesn't let me to take the second place. It is actually just a little bit ahead of me. I've only took second place on that straight because of the small inconsistency of the road. I was, I believe, a bit higher than the Kamata Angelus, but normally it stays a millimeter ahead of you. And because of the way it is programmed, only letting to overtake you on the very last straight, even when I've tried this tour with the Crinale, I found this tour extremely frustrating. I mean, I really do not see a reason to complete this tour without cheats. You do not feel yourself anyhow progressing, because the whole race doesn't matter in the slightest. Kamata Angelus will stay ahead of you no matter what you do. Its rubber banding is extreme. So, even if you are a hell of a driver and will do everything you can during the whole race without doing any, even the simplest of mistakes, Kamata Angelus will still be ahead of you, no matter how good you are. And this is a very, very bad programming. I mean, this is really bad programming. You do not do rubber banding like that in video games, and so it is no surprise they've changed it in Ridge Racer 2. I've actually got, like, how to say it? I've actually got. Let's put it this way. Actually, a subscriber of mine told me about how hard this tour is, and what can I say? Even though it is hard, that's no doubt about it. It is incredibly hard. You do not feel much satisfaction from winning because of the way the other cars are programmed. Well, Kamata Angelus specifically. The other cars, they have their rubber banding, but you can actually overtake them. You can overtake Crinale, Pac-Man. You can build gaps, even though they'll cover those gaps with their incredible rubber banding, which allows them to take about 450 kilometers per hour of speed, it is still quite satisfying racing against Crinale and Pac-Man. Angelus, though, makes it unbearable, because, once again, no matter how good you are, you might be the best Ridge Racer in the world, still, Command Angelus simply won't let you take the place ahead of it until the very last straight. And it only means that all your skills only really matter on the very last straight. And that's why, as you might have noticed, I've resorted to using save states, because I simply see no reason to race through the whole 3 laps if it all boils down to the very last straight. I mean, do you see the reason? I do not, so pardon me, but I've decided I'll do it with a save state or 2. I usually use about 2-3 save states per race, but I believe in one race I've used about 4 states. I'm not going to hide this fact. I cheat in this tour, and I cheat a lot in order to win it with Danver Bayonet. And, well, the first race and the last race are the 2 races I've actually completed without save states. Thing is, on the first race I've actually... How much time I've spent? I've spent about an hour on the first race, and in the second race, when I've spent about an hour and a half, that's when I was like, no, I've had enough, because Command Angelus cheats so blatantly. I've just had enough. I didn't really noticed it in the first race, because there were a lot of turns, but in the second race where it was mostly straight lines and I simply could not overtake Command Angelus, and it was not because I'm driving a class 4 car, it was just because Command Angelus was programmed not to let me overtake it. I found it incredibly frustrating, and an hour and a half later I've said screw it, I'm going for save states. And even with save states, it still took me about half an hour to make it through the race number 2. So all in all, it was about 2 hours of my time gone because of this programming. And you see, the thing is critical. I am not against wasting a lot of time into the race, because in Opus 6 I wasted 2.5 hours on the last race, but it was extremely satisfactory to be able to win in Opus 6 because of the way the rubber banding was programmed there. I was like feeling good from winning in Opus 6. And I cannot say that I feel bad from winning in Neplas Ultra, I just do not feel the very same level of satisfaction. Now, races number 3 and 4, in them I've used, this is race number 4 by the way, so in these races I've used save states from my very first try, so let's say from the start, and they only took me about 10 minutes. Well, if the game cheats, why not to cheat back, right? So it probably shows that these races are not that hard. It is rubber banding that make them hard, and when you will be able to cheat back with, say, save states and successfully block Command Angelus, yeah, it only takes about 10 minutes. It's really something to say, I guess. Well, at least it says a lot to me. Well, granted, maybe Opus 6 races will be as easy with save states, but I do not know. I just do not feel incentive to use save states in Opus 6. It just feels that I have in Opus 6, when I was racing against Gimmel, Soldat and Assoluto, I really felt that every lap matters, every turn matters, and everything I do on the track matters. I have to drive good in order to win. And I do not feel it here, because no matter how good I drive, nothing matters. Command Angelus stays in front of me. Once again, all these things could be neglected if Command Angelus would have used a more fluid programming like Pac-Man or Crinale. Just look at me racing against Crinale right now. It is awesome. And here, once again, it boils down to fighting with Angelus. Look at this. I'm not even bothering much about Pac-Man, because it is Angelus which I'm racing against. I don't know, they've just did the wrong thing with angles. They really did the wrong thing with angles, that's what I can say. In my opinion, it was done wrong. Quite a letdown, let me say. Just look at this, and here comes angles again. Sure, that's not even a surprise for me. It's okay. It was okay as long as... yeah. As long as Angelus was not here. It would have been okay, yeah. Because I could definitely use a race against Crinale one-on-one with its current programming of Ne Plus Ultra, but it all boils down to the very last straight, and it all turns into the race against Kamata Angelus. No matter what you do, the other cars do not matter much. So I've just gave up on it. Well, I didn't hide save states. In fact, I'm sure you've noticed, but if you didn't, sometimes in the upper in the upper middle of the screen, in the midst of the screen, between the position counter and the map, pops up save state and save loaded words. I've montaged it a bit to make it fluid, so you would not see the freezes which happen when PPSSPP saves a state, but other than that I did not make an effort to hide them, so you can see exactly where I'm saved and where I've loaded. I think it is a fair game, and I hope races are still quite exciting for you, because once again, let's not hide this fact, the races are exciting, as I've said, they are quite satisfactory, I guess that's the word. They're just not as satisfactory as in Opus 6 in Ridge Racer 2. Yes, something like that. Now, several words about this race. This race is incredibly hard, and I'm all but sure that it is impossible to do it with a Class 4 car without save states. Because even with save states, it still took me about 40 minutes to make this race right. And thing is, because Kamata Angelus crashes about half lap before the finishing line, and it easily catches up with you during the last half on the lap. Yes, this is the turn where Angelus crashes, and it just refuses to crash anywhere else. No matter how hard you try, the rest of the lap is picture perfect for Angelus, and it always stays ahead of you, so you just have to block it for a good half of the lap, and this is truly hard to do with a Class 4 car. Even with save states it took me 40 minutes. Well, of course you are welcome to try and do it without save states. Hell, if you will be able to do it, well, let me applaud to you, because if it is possible with save states, it is possible without save states, but you know, I still have something in my life except of my YouTube channel and Ridge Racer games, so I'd refused the challenge if I was like asking to complete this track without save states. I'd say thank you, but no. Well, what else can I say? The other thing which actually puzzled me a bit is because my usual way of writing cars into the class in which they do not quite belong, it doesn't quite work with special cars. I'm not sure why, but thing is, it looks like special cars are written into the game slightly differently rather than usual class 1-6 cars. And once you're attempting to write a class 1-6 car into 1/1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 car into the special class race, the game glitches, and it glitches quite ugly. In fact, I was unable to launch the race with my previous version of PPSSPP, which I was using, yeah. So I've had to update my PPSSPP, and once I've set it to ignore illegal writes or reads, the game actually let me to use the class 4 car, but thing is, for some reason I've got a lot of sound glitches, and notable of that is the fact that I do not have a DJ voice. I'm not sure why the DJ is the thing that disappears first. If you'll go through the race with Danver Bayonet and attempt to do a next race, the next thing that will disappear is actually car engine sound, and I'm not sure if anything else will disappear on the next race, but I didn't do it that far. So what I've done is I've actually, as I've already mentioned, I've completed Neplos Ultra with Crinale, and after every race I've swapped it to Bayonet. So I've only had no DJ in my races, so it went like that. I've completed a race with Bayonet, then I've completed a race with Crinale, then I've switched Crinale to Bayonet, I've completed the second race with Bayonet, then I've loaded a save state and completed the second race with Crinale, then I've switched Crinale to Bayonet for the third race. I hope you get the pattern. That's how it went. That's what you gotta do if you want to save all the sound and avoid the crashing, which will most likely eventually come if you'll try to do all 6 races with Bayonet. I'm not sure if I would be able to overcome the issue and trace where the game does something so very differently that class 4 car or any other class car actually crashes a special class race, but I've just decided that it doesn't worth it and I don't want to spend my time on a more subtle approach, so I've just did what I did. Also I've noticed that I believe Assoluto Bisonte or Assoluto Fatalita is the car which for whatever reason goes into the special class without any errors. That's peculiar, and I'm not sure what causes it. And as for DJ announcements before the start of the race, I've actually recorded them separately and then montaged it onto the footage. That's how it went. So that was it, Neplos Ultra with Class 4 Baraduke Bayonet. Hope you enjoyed it for whatever it was. And well, thanks for being with me, cats. If you liked it, stay tuned for more. Good luck!